The World Rally Championship has given us some of the most spectacular motorsport moments in history. But behind the glory, there's been cheating, tragedy, and controversy that nearly destroyed the sport entirely. Some teams got caught red-handed with illegal tech so clever it impressed even the officials who banned them. Others pushed the limits so far that drivers and spectators paid with their lives. This is every major WRC scandal explained. Group B, the era that killed itself. Let's start with the scandal that changed rallying forever. Group B. In the early 1980s, the FIA created Group B regulations to let manufacturers build the wildest, fastest rally cars imaginable. Minimal restrictions, maximum insanity. What followed was an arms race. Audi brought Quattro all-wheel drive. Peugeot built the 205 T16 with a mid-mounted turbo engine. Lancia created the Delta S4 with both a turbocharger and a supercharger. These weren't just fast, they were weapons. Over 500 horsepower in cars that weighed less than a ton, driven on gravel roads at 130 miles per hour, with spectators standing inches from the racing line. The problem wasn't just the cars, it was the culture. Fans would pack the stages, standing in the middle of the road until the last possible second. Organisers couldn't control the crowds. Drivers couldn't see where they were going. It was chaos. And it was only a matter of time before something went horribly wrong. In 1986, it did. At Rally Portugal, Joaquim Santos lost control of his Ford RS 200, trying to avoid spectators who were standing on the road. The car ploughed into the crowd at full speed. 3 people died instantly, including a mother and her 11-year-old son. Over 30 were injured. 1 more died in hospital. 4 dead, dozens maimed. And the rally kept going. Just weeks later, on May 2nd, 1986, Finnish driver Henri Toivonen and his American co-driver Sergio Cresto were leading the Tour de Corse by over a minute and a half. On stage 18, their Lancia Delta S4 went off the road on a narrow mountain bend, plunged down a ravine, and exploded on impact. The aluminium fuel tank ruptured. The Kevlar body went up like a firework. Both men burned to death in their seats. The car was so destroyed, investigators couldn't even determine what caused the crash. That was it. The FIA had seen enough. Within days, they announced Group B would be banned, effective immediately for the 1987 season. The official reason? The cars were too powerful and too dangerous to operate safely in the World Rally Championship. Manufacturers protested. Fans were devastated. But the decision was final. Group B was dead, and rallying would never be the same. Before we jump into the next controversy, if you're enjoying this deep dive into the wild side of the World Rally Championship, hit that subscribe button. I've got plenty more WRC stories, breakdowns, and unbelievable moments coming your way. Alright, let's get back into it. Toyota's genius cheat, the turbo restrictor scandal. Fast forward to 1995. Toyota Team Europe was dominating with the Celica GT4. They were fast, consistent, and seemingly untouchable. But at Rally Catalunya in Spain, the FIA decided to take a closer look. What they found was one of the most ingenious cheats in motorsport history. WRC regulations required all turbocharged cars to use a restrictor plate, a metal disc that limited airflow into the turbo to keep power in check. Every team had one. Toyota's just happened to be spring-loaded. When the engine was running, the restrictor would retract by about 5 millimeters, allowing 25% more air into the turbo. That translated to an extra 50 horsepower over the competition. But here's the genius part. When the engine was off, or the turbo wasn't engaged, the springs would push the restrictor back into its legal position. So when FIA inspectors checked the car post-race, everything looked completely legal. Even when they fully disassembled the turbo, they couldn't find evidence of the cheat. But at Catalunya, they caught it. Toyota was immediately disqualified. The team was banned for the entire 1996 season. Drivers were stripped of their points. The scandal handed the 1995 championship to Subaru's Colin McRae, who became the first British World Rally champion. Toyota's reputation was in tatters. Even the FIA admitted the engineering was brilliant, but cheating is cheating. Toyota didn't return to the WRC until 2017. Citroen's hydraulic suspension controversy. In the early 2000s, Citroën was untouchable. Sébastien Loeb was winning everything, and rival teams couldn't figure out how. The Zara WRC seemed to defy physics, staying flat through corners while maintaining incredible traction over rough terrain. The secret? A hydraulic suspension system that linked dampers across the car, decoupling roll and ride control. It wasn't electronic, so technically it wasn't active suspension, which was banned, but it gave Citroën a massive advantage. Rival teams protested. They argued the system violated the spirit of the regulations, even if it didn't break the letter of the law. The FIA investigated. Citroën's system was legal, but the controversy forced the FIA to act. In 2006, they clarified the rules and banned any suspension system, mechanical or hydraulic, that linked opposite wheels. Citroën's advantage was gone. But by then, Loeb had already won 2 championships. He'd go on to win 9 consecutive titles from 2004 to 2012, a record that still stands today and may never be broken. Volkswagen and Dieselgate, the scandal that killed a dynasty. In 2016, Volkswagen was the most dominant force in WRC history. 4 consecutive manufacturers' championships, 4 consecutive drivers' titles, 42 wins in 51 rallies. They were unstoppable. And then, Dieselgate happened. In September 2015, the US Environmental Protection Agency revealed that Volkswagen had installed software in millions of diesel vehicles to cheat emissions tests. The scandal cost VW over $30 billion in fines, recalls, and settlements. The company was hemorrhaging money and needed to cut costs immediately. In November 2016, Volkswagen announced they were withdrawing from the WRC at the end of the season. It wasn't a technical scandal within rallying itself, but the fallout was catastrophic. One of the sport's biggest manufacturers, at the peak of their dominance, just walked away. Sister brand Audi simultaneously pulled out of the World Endurance Championship. Volkswagen shifted focus to customer racing and electric vehicles, but the damage was done. The WRC lost its most successful team overnight, and the sport's credibility took a hit by association. The 2001 Championship Showdown, McRae versus Burns. Not every scandal involves cheating. Sometimes it's just heartbreak. The 2000 WRC season came down to the final rally, Rally GB, with 4 drivers still in contention: Colin McRae, Richard Burns, Tommi Mäkinen, and Carlos Sainz. McRae, the hometown hero, was leading the championship. All he had to do was finish. But on the very first stage, he crashed out. His title hopes were over. Richard Burns, his teammate and rival, was now in the driver's seat, but his Subaru was struggling with mechanical issues. The car stalled. He lost time. He was barely hanging on. Then, one by one, his rivals retired. Mäkinen, out. Sainz, out. Burns limped to 3rd place, which was just enough to win the championship by a single point over McRae. The controversy wasn't about rules or cheating. It was about the cruel irony of it all. McRae, one of the most talented drivers in WRC history, lost the championship on home soil, while his teammate, who barely finished the rally, took the crown. Burns would tragically die from a brain tumour just 3 years later, making 2001 his only world title. It remains one of the most dramatic and bittersweet finishes in WRC history. The unspoken scandal, Spectator safety. Here's the scandal no one wants to talk about. Spectator safety in rallying is still a problem. Even after Group B, even after Portugal 1986, fans continue to stand dangerously close to the action. In recent years, there have been multiple incidents of spectators being hit by cars, some fatal. The WRC has implemented stricter safety zones and marshalling, but enforcement is inconsistent, especially in remote stages. The sport walks a fine line. Part of rallying's appeal is the raw, unfiltered access fans have to the action. You can stand meters from a car flying past at 100 miles per hour. That's the thrill, but it's also the risk. And every time there's an incident, the same question comes up. How many more people have to get hurt before something changes? The FIA has tightened regulations, but the culture of rallying, especially in certain countries, makes enforcement nearly impossible. It's a scandal that's still unfolding. The Saudi Arabia deal, sports washing or progress? In 2024, the WRC announced a landmark 10-year deal to host a rally in Saudi Arabia. The decision sparked immediate backlash. Critics accused the FIA and WRC promoters of sports washing, using motorsport to legitimize a regime with a well-documented human rights record. Activists pointed to Saudi Arabia's treatment of women, LGBTQ+ individuals, and political dissidents. They argued that hosting a rally there was a betrayal of the sport's values. WRC officials defended the decision, saying motorsport can be a force for positive change and that engagement is better than isolation. They also pointed out that rallying has been held in countries with questionable human rights records for decades. So why is Saudi Arabia different? The debate rages on. Some fans support the expansion into new markets. Others have vowed to boycott. It's a scandal that's less about what happened on the stages and more about what the sport stands for off them. The scandals that weren't. Before we wrap up, let's clear up some myths. Subaru fuel tank scandal, 2003. Mitsubishi active diff ban, 2004. Citroën water injection, 2005. There was no Subaru fuel tank scandal in 2003 when Petter Solberg won the championship. That didn't happen. There was no Mitsubishi active differential ban in 2004. Active diffs were legal, and Mitsubishi's struggles that year were due to unreliability, not rule changes. And there was no Citroën water injection scandal in 2005. Water injection was already banned for all teams by then, and Citroën wasn't caught using it. The point is, rallying has enough real scandals without needing to invent new ones. The sport's history is filled with tragedy, controversy, and moments that tested the very limits of what's acceptable in motorsport. Some of these scandals led to positive change. Others just left scars. The World Rally Championship has survived cheating, tragedy, and controversy that would have killed most sports. Group B nearly destroyed it. Toyota's turbo cheat embarrassed it. Dieselgate gutted it. And yet, rallying endures. It's a sport built on risk, innovation, and the constant push to go faster, even when the consequences are deadly. These scandals aren't just footnotes in history. They're reminders of what happens when ambition, competition, and human error collide at 130 miles per hour on a gravel road in the middle of nowhere. The WRC has learned from its mistakes, but it's also repeated them. And as long as there are manufacturers looking for an edge, drivers willing to risk everything, and fans standing too close to the action, there will always be another scandal waiting to happen. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed. Thanks for watching.